Peace and blessings be on you. Today we shall be starting question number 2 of the book. How do we prove that the Creator has sent many messengers for mankind? Now, a careful look at the history of all the major religions shows that they originated when a man claimed that God had spoken to him and given him guidance which he was ordered to convey to other people. Such a man is defined to be a prophet or a messenger of God. Note that I have used masculine gender a couple of times because all the known prophets in history until now have been men. Perhaps one reason for this is that the work of a prophet involves a lot of danger. For example, every known prophet in history has experienced extreme hostility from his people, and he had to go through a lot of physical torture and verbal abuse. So maybe it is the law of God to spare the ladies from going through such hardships. Let me also remark here that it is a very common phenomenon in religion that whenever a true messenger comes in any part of the world, an overwhelming majority of people reject him in the beginning. As time passes, he gains more and more followers, and his worldly power also starts increasing. This increase in numbers keeps happening even after the death of the messenger. Then a point comes when the material success of the followers of the religion becomes so significant that enormous number of people start joining that religion. But sadly enough, that is also a time when the quality starts falling, because people start either deliberately or ignorantly distorting the teachings of the religion, the original teachings. A time then comes when they start spreading the idea that the messenger was a god of some kind. And this always happens when the messenger is no longer present among them. Otherwise, he would reject the idea very forcefully. He's usually dead many decades before this misconception arrives among his followers, or the so-called followers. Now let's try to understand the reason for this misconception. Actually, it's not very difficult to understand if one examines a certain aspect of human psychology. Most people live on extremes and don't find the right balance in a lot of aspects of their lives. So in the beginning, they adopt the extreme stance of not only rejecting the message of the messenger, but also calling him bad names and treating him as if he was among the worst people on earth, even though many of them know deep inside that this is a man of exceptionally high character. But they just don't want anyone telling them to change their wrong ways of life. So they throw all kinds of abuses on him. Now fast forward to the time when the religion gains worldly power and now includes lots of people who don't even understand the real message of the religion, but they're there only for material reasons. So now they again need to fulfill their desire of living on extremes. And this time they adopt the opposite extreme of saying that not only was the messenger someone special, but he was actually a god. So first, they didn't even believe him to be a good person. And next, they believe him to be not even an exceptional person, but actually beyond a human. And they start believing that he was a god, So they just have to live on extremes, most of the people. In this book, I'll always refer to those humans whom their followers now believe to be gods as messengers. So I don't care if the followers of that religion or the so-called followers are calling them gods. I will refer to them as messengers. And the reason is that that's what they really were if you examine their original teachings, not the interpretation of the later people, but their original teachings, things that they said themselves. They always told people to worship God, and they worshiped God as well, and made it very clear that they were only humble servants and prophets of God and not gods themselves. So, for example, I would refer to Adam, Noah, Ram, Christian, Moses, Zoroaster, Abraham, Jesus, Muhammad. Peace and blessings of God be on all of them, and many other like them. The list actually is too long to be mentioned here. I believe in all of them to be messengers of God, whatever their so-called followers believe them to be. They were the best human beings of their time, and that is why God chose them as his messengers. I will also mention here that I'm counting only those people to be prophets who not only claim to be messengers of God, but whose name is held in high esteem even today, many decades after their message. So generally, I'll be focusing on prophets who have passed quite a while ago, so that we can also use our hindsight and look at future events, and that makes it a bit easier to testify the truth of their claims. So yes, many people have mistakenly turned them into deities, but the fact remains that they're still held in high stance. So even if, as I said, that their so-called followers have turned those messengers into gods, but the thing that they still share in common with me is that they hold them in very high respect. So thereby, I'm excluding those false claimants whose message and popularity after maybe a rapid initial surge died either in their lifetime or soon afterwards. I'm also excluding those leaders who never claimed that they were prophets. So they never claimed that God had spoken to them and told them to convey his message. But somehow they have some followers today who insist that those leaders were prophets. With that introduction out of the way, we now come to our main question. That how do we know for sure that God had indeed spoken to the person who is claiming to be the messenger of God? What is the proof of his truth? After all, the person may just be making it up because no one else heard with their own ears the conversation between him and God as he claimed. Prophet, or the so-called prophet, is the only person who knows what has happened. So I shall be presenting multiple arguments in favor of prophets, and all those arguments, when you view them together, should form a very satisfactory proof, as long as you are open-minded and pure-hearted. And these arguments we should start in the next video. God bless you.